And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Are you ready for another edition of Weighing In? This is our midweek edition where we get to talk about the super fight coming up on Saturday. Remember, it is not at the normal time that you are used to in watching your UFC fights, where it's going to be 7 o'clock Pacific or 10 o'clock East Coast. This one's going to be 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock East Coast. Don't get caught in that position where all of a sudden what happened? The fights are over, because we're going to talk about Justin Gaethje and Khabib Nurmagomedov. Your man, Josh. He is in for the fight of his life, I think, coming up here, and there's a lot going on right now. What do you think?
Well, what I think and what you just said is not the same thing. Look, I have, and let's get this all out in the open. And I know everyone thinks I'm a homer and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yada, yada, yada. I get
a couple more blah, blahs.
No, I watched finally. No, this is totally off subject. Most of you guys don't know this, but I had never seen one episode of Seinfeld until like just recently. And these guys with the Bellator crew have just given me the biggest headache ever since. Like, oh, you haven't seen Super
Master of Your Domain
and the Master of Your Domain and all this other stuff, right? Blah, blah, blah. There's an episode where they talk about yada, yada, yada.
Yada, yada.
It was pretty damn funny. It was, and honestly, I've seen a couple of I saw the Soup Nazi. I was like, yeah, it's okay. I get it. But it really wasn't my cup of tea. But the yada, yada, yada was like, yeah, you know, one of the, who's the guy, the girl, there was a girl with George at the time, and they were dating, and she comes in, and they're having dinner or lunch or whatever at the cafe that they always have, you know. And so they set the scene. She's like, he like says something about yada, 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 and goes on talking about the story. And she's like, oh yeah, you know. And so he's like, so what'd you do last night? And she's like, well, you know, my ex-boyfriend came over, and, you know, he wanted to talk about stuff, and I really didn't want to talk about it. And, you know, but then, like, you know, we started getting into it a little, you know, it was like one thing led to another. It was like yada, yada, yada. And like today I'm just fucking tired. And I'm like, here you are with your new boyfriend talking about your ex-boyfriend coming over, but it's yada, yada. He's like, so finally George goes, I don't get the whole yada, yada, yada thing. Like, what do you mean yada, yada, yada? She's like, oh, well, you know, like, yeah, just one thing led to the next and yada, yada, yada. And I'm tired today. So it was pretty good. I actually thought it was pretty damn funny. Maybe I'm just a nerd. But I got to say, Chael was like just baffled by the fact I had never, and just like you, and just like everybody else in the production team, you've never seen one episode. I was like, no, not really. It's a show about nothing. That's what they pride themselves on. It's a show about nothing, which is true. But it was there was a couple shows that I saw that were good, but the majority of them, like, yeah, I could do without. Okay, anyways, back on topic. What was the topic we were talking about? We were talking about what? Justin Gaethje and Khabib.
You know that fight that's coming up?
That big fight. But Big John did say the fight of his life. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay, so look, and this is where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go completely off what you guys, all the stories that I've been told, I'm going to tell you guys right now about what I have heard from people that have trained either with Justin or people that have trained over it. What is it called? Elevation? Yeah, people that have trained Elevation before and are still good friends with the coaches there, blah, 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 blah. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so yada. I'm going to run with that this whole episode. The bottom line is I'm hearing that Justin never trains jiu-jitsu. He's basically equivalent to a white belt in jiu-jitsu. And we've known that. I think blue belt. We've known that for the longest time. Though.
Yes.
But he's got good takedown defense. I've also heard that Justin Gaethje is giving Kamaru Usman a hard time in the takedown area department. I don't know how true that is, but I'm simply saying these people that I'm talking to they're pretty reliable sources. People that have trained at that gym and they're friends with Trevor Whitman. Now, I'm going to also say this. If someone was to turn to my coach and say, how's Josh looking? My coach is going to say the same shit that Trevor Whitman is saying. He's going to say, yes, you know, Khabib's having a hard time taking Josh Thompson down. That's a fucking lie. Okay, so I'm not saying that's what's going on, But I can't imagine the wrestling pedigree that Kamaru Usman has is having a hard time taking Justin Gaethje down. Maybe not the first one, maybe not the second one, but he may be able to get him the third and fourth. The thing is once the fight hits the ground, it completely favors Khabib. And I think we all can agree with that. There's no doubt about that. Will he get him down? There is no doubt about that. This is what I want people to really.
That's where you're saying no doubt. And I honestly agree with you.
Okay.
But most people think he might not get him down because they do not understand the difference in levels of wrestling ability and what one person has done to actually enhance that ability, and where the other person, although he works on his defense, he's not the wrestler that he was before because he's worked too hard in other areas to become very good in those areas. And Justin is very good in his stand-up and his pressure, but his pressure will lead to him having moments where Khabib is going to get in on it. And when he does, he's going to be fighting a different animal, an animal that he has not been able to mimic, because I love Kamaru Usman. He wrestles completely different than Khabib does.
Khabib did an interview today, and I want people to remember this because I want them to take a look at, go back and watch Daniel Cormier's fight against Stipe Miocic. Khabib did an interview today, and the one thing that he said was, because he saw DC there in Yas Island or Abu Dhabi, and he said this. DC tells him, hey, he's going to be hard to take down, da-da-da-da-da, like yada, yada, yada. And Khabib tells him very calmly, tells Daniel Cormier, a two-time Olympian, DC, brother, I want you to understand this. You shot one takedown on Stipe. You got him down. He hopped back up. After that, you no more wrestle. Me?
It's true.
I will wrestle for 25 minutes. Nobody wrestles for 25 minutes. I do.
It's true.
I want people to think of this, okay? John Fitch is old, retired. He fought someone who was still, I would consider to be ranked in the top 5, maybe top 8. Let's say maybe for sure top 10. When he fought Rory McDonald, he fought him to a draw. You want to know why? Because all John Fitch did was wrestle. And it gets to the point where people just cannot defend it no matter what, because they don't have the pedigree to continue to wrestle at that level. Now, it's not even like the chaining the wrestling together. They just don't have the conditioning, the wrestling conditioning, to do that for 25 straight minutes.
Because they're looking for a place to catch that breath.
It will not happen. It will not happen. Yeah, and look, and I've said this, I don't know how many times. Abel Trujillo, Pat Healy, all the other guys that he has ever fought have got back to their feet. And he has sometimes let them back up just so he can take them down again and break their will. And just so we are clear, I think he still has the record for the most takedowns in UFC history.
Against Abel Trujillo.
Yes. And I cornered him for that fight. What was it, 24? Or is it 19?
19.
I think it's 19. 19 takedowns. A lot of that was after the first round. I said, hey, how are you doing? How you feel? Easy takedown. I continue to do this, blah, blah, blah. No problem. Continue, yada, yada, yada. Okay, kept going, kept doing it to the point where Abel Trujillo never really gave up, but it was there all day long. Look, Justin Gaethje is no doubt phenomenal on the feet. Has some of the most nastiest leg kicks in the game. And do I think that he has a chance? Yes, I do give him a chance. I give him a very good chance to beat Khabib. Do I think he's the hardest fight he's had? Absolutely not. Nope, absolutely. I would put him at second, maybe third, second and third, somewhere there. Conor McGregor is the hardest guy he's fought. Hands down, Conor McGregor. And I got to tell you, there's adjustments that Conor can make to make it even a harder fight. But there's also no interest from Khabib. You want to know why there's no interest? The lack of disrespect. If Conor had given him a little bit of respect, I would guarantee Khabib would probably fight him again. Probably. Because the money is good. He understands that. Khabib
money would be great.
But Khabib doesn't care about the money, but he does understand that is a portion of what goes on in this sport. He understands that's what also drives the revenue for the UFC. UFC is going to make a push for that. even though he maybe doesn't seem like it, he is a little bit of a company guy where he kind of respects the fact that like this is a business. What's best for me is what's best for the company is most likely best for me. I'm just simply saying Justin Gaethje cannot wrestle him for 25 minutes straight, and Khabib Nurmagomedov will wrestle him for 25 minutes straight. There's not a thing that he can do to stop it. He can maybe land a one punch, maybe land a couple kicks.
Oh, that's the way he can stop.
Yeah, he can stop it. But here's the thing. The speed of him, he is not as fast as Michael Johnson. He's not as fast as Barboza. He's good on the feet. He's got more power, but he is not as fast as those guys to get in. That's the thing I'm just breaking it down honestly, John. He is not as fast to land those shots. Does he have the power? So if he does touch, yes, there could be some problems. But you got to get it there first. That's the whole thing. You got to get it to his chin first. And if you don't get it there, you're not getting the takedown. You're not getting the knockout. It's not going to happen. And in that process, he's going to ragdoll you and wrestle you to death. And you know it. That's why you're laughing right now. You know it. That's why you're laughing. You're laughing. Look.
Well, this is the problem, and I in no way want to make it appear that I do not respect Justin Gaethje's ability. I love him as a fighter. He is probably one of the funnest guys to watch.
He's one of the nicest guys too.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, but he's so entertaining. He's called the human highlight reel for a reason, because he brings the fight, and that's in his DNA. But the difference is this: Dustin Poirier, when Dustin fought against Khabib, there is at least the element. Dustin's stand-up is good. He's got good power in his hands. He can land a heavy shot, and he showed that when he fought Gaethje. He's got good power, but he's also got a very good submission game. Dustin Poirier's got a nasty freaking guillotine, arm-in guillotine. He catches guys in it all the time. He caught Khabib in it, and he presents a danger everywhere in the fight, everywhere there is. Conor presents more of the danger in the stand-up. On the ground, he's not the submission guy that's normally going for the guillotines, or he's going to go for a triangle. That's just not his game. He's going to go more for the reversal or the get back up and get back to his feet, same as what Gaethje brings. So as soon as the fight hits the ground, Gaethje's problem is this: he is a wrestler, and wrestlers are prone to do wrestling maneuvers to get themselves back to their feet. And when he turns his back to Khabib, it's a serious problem. And this is where the fight turns, because it only takes, one shot from Gaethje to end the fight. Absolutely true. And that could happen to anybody. Nobody is punch proof. Nobody. Yeah. Okay. But you do have to land that one good shot. And that takes, it's a very low percentage. It takes, perfect timing, right, positioning, and you can get that. And no doubt Justin could land that on Khabib and could put him out completely and win the fight easily. But when you look at what normally takes place in fights, goes back to the start of the UFC. Generally, normally, usually, fights go to the ground. Now, guys have become so good at keeping the fights up, but there's certain people, and when you talk about wrestling ability, there's a difference. Mark Coleman was an Olympic wrestler, and he went against certain guys that gave him fits because of their danger in a certain area. Be it Fedor, when he fought Fedor multiple times, he had problems with Fedor because, first off, he had problems with Fedor on the feet, and then he had problems when he couldn't really take Fedor down, and when he would try, Fedor would reverse it, and then all of a sudden Fedor's putting submissions on him. And these are the things that can happen no matter how good your wrestling is in the world of MMA. So I take nothing from Justin's wrestling as far as he was a good wrestler in college. All-American, that's saying a lot. But there's levels to everything, and the level of his wrestling doesn't compute to the wrestling level of what Nurmagomedov brings. He brings a different style of wrestling, a wrestling that utilizes a lot of different maneuvers. American wrestling basically, came from, when you're looking at it, it came from Dan Gable. That's the way wrestlers of today kind of emulated it. And it's starting to change right now. But, for the last 40 years, it was the Dan Gable thing, man. Grind. We were grinders. We will, wear you out. Just that constant hard grind, pushing forward. The Russians don't wrestle that way.
No, they don't. They will.
And they completely do things different. Everything is a technique, and as easy as they can make it, they don't work hard as far as, the press of the fight. Normally, it's just a different style. And I look and say, Khabib is a different animal when it comes to the takedown, because he will be that guy who, if you don't put him out, he will continue to wrestle you until you die. And when I mean die, you physically exhaust yourself in trying to stop what he does. He does it all the time. This is what he does. This is what he works out for. This is what he trains for. So he is in that position where he doesn't get as tired by pressing hard. And a lot of times we'll say, you can only wrestle so long before you get tired. He finds his areas where he takes his breaks, especially once he takes you down. And it's a great fight. And the best part is when people think that anybody can win, that's, makes it interesting. And both guys are,
but do
top
they
of the
think
food
that?
chain. Phenomenal. Well, I've seen a whole lot of fighters out there saying Justin Gaethje is going to beat him. I've seen a ton of them.
Who?
Oh my God.
Who? There was a bunch of stuff on MMA fighting or whatever. I don't even know what it's called. Some website, some MMA website.
Well, let's see. Edson Barbosa has fought both.
Yeah.
He lost to both, and he didn't pick it. He says it's a 50-50 fight. Okay.
Okay. I get it.
And
But
that's
it's
okay.
not, but it's not. I get it.
Well, a different style, but here's the difference. And I look at this, if you're going to look at a stand-up fighter and you're going to look at Justin Gaethje, I'll take Edson Barbosa. Let's put those. Who's got a better stand-up style?
Pros pick Khabib versus Gaethje. Let's see what pros what they were thinking.
You're going to see a lot of pros picking Gaethje, and some of it is, there's that homer aspect too,
Of course, and that's kind of where I'm at a little bit.
but it's also, you get the people wanting to see the guy who has never been beaten. I want to see the guy that's going to beat him. And they believe that Justin can be that guy. In this fight, I think it's going to be pretty much after about a minute and a half, you're going to see Justin hitting the ground.
Yeah.
He may get up, but he's going to end up hitting the ground again. And it's going to be hitting the ground and working hard to get up, and not being able to damage Khabib is going to end up taking its toll. And I just think that's the way I look at the fight. I could be wrong.
Look, to me, the guy that's going to beat Khabib will be a guy with a very extensive good jiu-jitsu background. That's it. The rest of these guys, that's why I said I felt like Tony would potentially have been the toughest fight, because, and not only that,
the Darce.
Not just the Darce. It's not just
Well, he hits the
jiu-jitsu.
Darce from all the angles.
He hits it from all the angles. But for me, it also is the elbows. He has the sharpest elbows in the game. I mean, outside of Kenny Florian when he was in the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, holy shit. It's not just me. It's not just me. He just cut up and fucked up with those elbows. It was a lot of other guys too. I want to make sure we're clear on that. Okay. But, and I actually reached out to Tony. I was like, hey man, I'd love to get your opinion this week on the show. And, cause him and I sometimes we'll chat back and forth through DMs. I think he wants to avoid this week only because there's a lot going on. He doesn't really want to be brought into it. Doesn't want to steal the spotlight of other guys. He's a stand-up guy, man. He's a really nice guy, a really good guy. Tony Ferguson is. But I would love to get his take on this whole thing. It really just comes down to the fact that the guy that's going to have the best chance of beating him is a guy that has a submission background and someone that knows how to do damage from the bottom, which is Tony Ferguson. Someone who's got good elbows, sharp elbows from the bottom, and there's a threat of takedowns, whether it's guillotine, whether it's Darces, there's a submission threat at all points when you're grappling with that guy. Triangles, arm bars, kimuras. He's got it all. He's got a well-rounded game. It didn't work for him against Gaethje, but styles make fights, man, and it's been proven over and over again that styles make fights, John. And Tony Ferguson's a fucking a tough shell to crack against anybody. Justin Gaethje was able to stuff the takedowns. But the pedigree of Tony
There were no
Ferguson,
takedowns.
well, he shot a couple times. Didn't
Come
get
on, there was no
close.
takedowns. If you're gonna give me the Imanari roll was the attempted takedown, come on.
I get it. I get what
Not
you're
even
saying.
close. Tony went in there with the game plan that he was going to outpunch Gaethje. That's
Yeah.
what his game plan was. Wasn't a
Yeah.
good game plan.
But then I think what he got it from was that Eddie was able to do it, that Dustin Poirier was able to do it. They were able to withstand some of the shots. And that's the other avenue that I go down, is that I want people to understand Khabib's got a pretty damn good chin. Let's remember, Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson
Heard him.
rocked Gaethje twice with the speed and the power. 3 times.
Michael Johnson hurt Khabib.
He hurt him, but not as bad as he hurt Justin Gaethje.
No.
Justin Gaethje was on stilts.
Oh, dude,
Okay.
he was on chicken legs.
Sure, he hurt Khabib, but Khabib also kept walking forward after he got hit.
Yep.
Yes. So those two things together. I mean, I know I'm not trying to do the MMA math. You guys, I'm just simply saying the speed and the power hit both these guys' chins. Who had the effect the most? Khabib's got a really damn good chin. With all that wrestling, he's got a really big ass neck too. Okay. And one thing he can do is he can take a pretty damn good shot. I've seen him spar with guys like John Fitch. I've seen him spar and John Fitch doesn't crack, he barely cracks an egg. Okay.
That's not the most impressive.
But when you're
power.
dealing with, I've seen him spar with guys at 100, 185, 190 pounds. Frank Munoz, pure kickboxer, big guy, touching his chin. Like he sparred with very big guys. His cousin, Abu Bakr, same thing. He's got big power. He's very aggressive, hits hard, and just comes forward. And there's not a whole, like, sure, they love each other, but it's one of those things like, no, I'm in here to win every single time they spar. And other guys are too. I said last week, we got a group of Colombian kids at AKA, and they're out there to try and win. These guys are out there to try and win when they're sparring because they're like, oh shit, this guy's going to take it to me. And which he does. But I just simply want to put the fact that, sure, Justin Gaethje is tough. Justin Gaethje kicks hard. Justin Gaethje's always a gamer. There's never been any doubt about that. But when it comes down to fight IQ, ooh, who are you taking, John? Fight IQ, who you got? Who fights the smartest?
That's pretty
Blah,
simple.
blah, blah. Well, come on,
Khabib.
yada, yada, yada. Let me hear it. It's Khabib. Like, Justin gets himself into those fights where it's just, he doesn't fight smart. Doesn't mean he won't this fight. He
fights on nuts.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that about him. That's
Oh,
what makes
fucking
him.
A, man.
That's what
You
makes
gotta
him a
love it
fan
about him.
favorite. But I gotta tell you, if you're gonna call this fight, John, who's gonna win what round, and who's gonna win? Give me a round. Give me someone. Come on.
I say the fight's over 3rd to 4th round and
Yep.
it's Khabib.
And what, submission?
TKO stoppage.
I think submission. I think because this is the one thing. If you go back
Might
and
be.
watch,
Could be a choke because he's going to give his back.
He's
It's
going to
just
give his back
inbred
every
into him.
time.
And if you go back, and this is going back a ways, but before Justin came into, the UFC when he was at the World Series of Fighting, he had a couple of hard fights. And in those, when he fought Louis Firmo, we talked about it. Louis Firmo was winning that fight.
Yep.
The fight got stopped because Firmo's eyes swelled up and they stopped the fight. But round wise, Louis Firmo was winning that fight. It was,
3-0. It was 3-0.
Not an easy fight for Justin. And that was a guy, Buscape is a good jiu-jitsu guy. He doesn't have the greatest takedowns in the world.
No.
And he was able to get him down pretty regularly.
Yep.
So it's, I look at it, I love Justin and he is a freaking banger and man, he's fun to watch. I personally don't think it's the greatest matchup for him. I think this is the kind of matchup where his style of getting himself up off of the canvas is to give his back, and you can't give your back to Khabib. He's going to take advantage of it, and it's going to go downhill from there.
Yeah. So I was on Schaub's show on Monday. I don't know if you saw it or listened to it or whatever. There was a lot of people.
I would listen to you. I can't listen to Tom. Just kidding, Brendan. You're awesome.
It was I felt like, hey, a couple of times, like, hey, because every time I go on there, it's like Khabib's gonna lose this time. No, dude.
He's always, this
like,
is
what's going on
You
with
got to
you?
figure out. Brendan Schaub's mentality is real simple. Look, I've already said that he's going to lose He was going to lose to, I think he even said he was going to lose to Barbosa possibly because of the stand-up. Then he was going to lose to Conor, no doubt. And then now he's going to lose to Justin. So eventually, if Khabib doesn't retire, Brendan's going to be right.
Oh, man. But I had to sometimes like stop and say, hey, what are you talking about? There's no way. You said Conor was going to beat him and knock him out, or he was going to stop him because you saw his fight with Ali Quinta, Khabib's fight with Ali Quinta, and Ali Quinta had some good shots, and Michael Johnson landed some shots, and Conor's another level. And I'm like, Brendan, I love you and all, but bro, it doesn't make a difference. Who did the dropping in that fight against Conor? Khabib dropped him, and it's going to continue to be that way. When people are so afraid of the takedown, it changes the dynamic of the game. It changes what they're thinking is going to happen. It's funny. I'm working with a guy right now named Romero Cotton, and I'm hitting. I'm helping him with his stand up, a little bit of his patience, setting up his takedowns, and it changes everything when you tell someone to let the hands go fluidly, but always remember who you are, and you're a wrestler. And I watch him work with some of the guys that are in here as well, and as soon as he lets things go smoothly, the takedown comes so much easier. And they're just afraid of the takedown because the fucking powerhouse. But the same thing goes for Khabib. Same exact shit. And it's funny because I've got all these guys that train with Khabib. And these guys are all like former All-Americans, former national champs. You know, some of them on the Olympic team were on the Olympic team. And they're like, these guys just don't even know. They don't even know. And some guy called me out after he watched the Brendan Schaub show, and he was on the social media trying to call me. Pull up this guy's name, Dave. It's off. Go to Flow Wrestling.
Hold it. Why would someone even care about? Okay, never mind.
No, because what I said was what they did. Look, what Schaub's show did below the belt. What they did was they did some sound bites, which I understand they did sound bites. But somewhere in there, it made it sound like I said that American wrestlers don't know how to chain wrestle. I didn't mean it that way. What I meant was the chain wrestling that Russians do and Sambo wrestling is different than someone like Justin Gaethje, who was an All-American 1 year, his junior year, I believe it, and he took 8th. But then he didn't place his senior year, and so on. The level of wrestling is different.
Do you remember this? And this is only going back a year, maybe a year, a little bit more than a year. And this is the point. Ben Askren, everyone knows who Ben is.
Right there on the
phenomenal
left.
Wrestler.
That writing. There you go. Sorry, John.
Phenomenal wrestler. A guy that, created a lot of his own style. He did his own thing. That's why he was called Funky. Yeah.
Yes.
Olympic team. And we talked about how good his wrestling was in MMA. He went and, came back to wrestling for Beat the Streets to raise money and wrestled against, a wrestler of today. Jordan Burroughs. Jordan Burroughs, Olympic gold medalist. He's, has had even a more successful career in wrestling than Ben Askren ever had. But Ben Askren, if you ask people that know, can Ben Askren wrestle? Fuck yes, he can wrestle.
Fuck.
And you go and watch it. It's almost, it's criminal.
Yes.
What occurs in that match.
Yeah. Because
Jordan Burroughs just annihilates Ben. Yeah. He put Ben on his back off of the mat on purpose.
Yeah.
He just, I mean, I don't want to say anything bad, and it was ugly.
But I think Ben understands what was going on. Of course,
Ben knew going in, I'm in trouble in this. I'm doing this to raise money. So, but again,
phenomenal guy, by the way.
That's the difference between a guy, great wrestler, but he wasn't practicing wrestling all the time. And that guy that's what he does. And that's what happens when you have those levels.
DC left wrestling on the Olympic team in the Olympic Training Center, comes to AKA, trains for 2 years, 3 years, goes back for the heavyweight Grand Prix tournament in Strikeforce, goes back to wrestle with some of the guys there. He's like, fuck. And Crazy Bob Cook's his manager.
Different.
And he's like, DC was getting fucked up. Maybe for just the first day, finally got a little bit of the rhythm, but it takes time to get on that track.
You got to go back, and that's what you've got to just be part of if you want to get that level back. It just doesn't come.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't come. So look, who's this guy? I can't remember. Ashnart.
Yeah.
Ashnault? Yeah.
Ashnault.
Anyways, what's his first name? I think it's Aaron or something like that.
I don't know.
Okay, so look, regardless. So he
What did Aaron Ashnault say? I want to hear it.
He says Americans know how to put more than one attack together. What's this dude talking about? He's referring to
right.
me. He is, and it wasn't the way that they cut the below the belt edit and they put it out there. It made it sound like I was talking. I said, so I went back and told him, I was like, watch the whole damn show before you come to me, young man. So I said, I'm not sure. He's like, I'm not sure it will be enough for Khabib, but the dude knows how to put attacks together. Bad take. I'd like to get my hands on Josh. Okay, anytime you want, son. Okay, for 30 straight minutes of all wrestling. What do you mean all wrestling? Buddy, I'm going to kick you in the head. Quick and easy. That's all it is. Okay, as soon as I leave my feet to knee you in the face, it's done, son. It's done. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say. Look, I obviously, I think you wrestle at Rutgers. And I know that Frankie's over there and he helps out with the team and stuff. Look, I'm sure you're a good kid, but this is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about just straight wrestling. 30 minutes of any type of thing. Okay, my fat, old, lazy, old ass would just mop the mat with you if it was MMA. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that, look, these guys, I've got a guy named Kyle Driscoll. I've got Romero Cotton. I've got Kyle Crutchmere. I've got Deron Wynn. They will all tell you it's different. MMA is different. It's the chaining together of not just the wrestling. It's the chaining together of I shoot, I drive on the single, I snatch the single, lift you, go to the double, drive you to the fence. Don't get the takedown. Can't lock my hands. I back out, punch, enter back in, single, maybe double, lift, get the takedown, whatever it is. Or I punch my way into the body lock, try to sag you down, can't get it. Chain things together. But it involves kneeing, striking, elbows, punching, backing out, coming back in. It's all those things. This is not just wrestling.
But it's also the danger of when you miss the shot in wrestling,
nothing happens
to you.
Nothing. Yeah. There's no consequences.
When you miss it in MMA, sometimes you pay severely for it.
Someone's waking you up, standing over you and going, hey, can you count how many fingers this is, kid? Like, that's what happens. The reality of it is like, sure, if you shoot in wrestling, it doesn't matter. You shoot, guy gets behind, 2. Okay, cool. I fucked up. All right? This, you pay consequences. Especially if you're fighting in fucking other promotions where they knee you to the head on the ground, or they soccer kick you in the face.
Or even in present day, because I just had Conor McGregor tweet me about showing the knee that he actually hit Khabib with that was illegal and saying, don't you think they should bring this back? What do you think, John? I think you're right, Conor, to bring it back.
I've always been a fan of kneeing people in the head, though, on the ground. I've always thought that was
so have I. Honestly,
I think
it'll never happen. I'm just saying right now, it will never happen. But I would bring it back. If I was king, I would bring back that you can knee, because there's places that on your back, you can still fight. You could do damage. And as long as the person knows, they can do things to eliminate that factor. So
if we ever go back to a king era, I'm fucking voting for you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. You will like the results.
Absolutely.
Just do it for a week.
Just for a week. No, we might
for a week, and I lose my power.
We might give you a month. Yeah. It takes time to establish your position. That's what it is.
Yeah, there you go.
So look, young guy, I didn't want to get mad at him. I didn't say anything negative or bad to him. And I just want to say, like, I'm talking about the sport of MMA. That's what I like talking about.
I like the fact he's passionate about his sport, because that's any wrestler, anybody that's wrestled, they know, man, what I do, it ain't easy and it's hard. Yeah. And you say anything that I think is bad about it, I'm going to come back at you. I'm okay with it.
But here's the thing. They're trying to compare college wrestling, which is like folk style wrestling, to Russian style Sambo wrestling. Completely different. Okay. And a lot of those Dagestanis and the wrestling, and they have success because they don't wrestle like Dan Gable. They don't wrestle.
No.
They don't wrestle that high intensity, push forward, smash you, the Terry Brands, and try to get in your grill and make you work until they break you. They don't wrestle that way. They wrestle the lazy, slow, like wait for you to make a mistake, come behind, work on transitions from one transition to the next. That's how they wrestle. They don't wrestle the other way, and that's the thing is Justin's maybe will stop the first takedown. He may even stop the second. But like Khabib said when he did the interview today, DC, you wrestle, you take one shot against Stipe. He get back up, you no more wrestle the whole fight. Me, I wrestled 25 minutes the whole time. No one can do this but me. He understands. He understands what he's good at. And we talked about this on Sunday. So if you guys haven't seen our show from Sunday, go back, listen to that show too. You cannot change something that is not broken. Leave it the way it is. If it's not broke, do not fix it. Nothing is broke. You're undefeated. 28, 28, 29, no, 28.
28, no.
28, no. He doesn't need to change anything. He's on point to be the greatest fighter of all time. Over GSP. Over. He's been the most dominant, I would say. John Jones is close, but John's been losing some rounds lately and not just losing some rounds. I've always had a little suspect with the whole, we've talked about that. And I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to.
Well, it's not even,
it's not
John,
even that.
John has had an incredible run. You look at all of the championship rounds and all the championship fights he's done. But there is a difference when you can look at Khabib and say, how many rounds have you ever seen him lose?
And the one's kind of suspect. It's kind of suspect.
Okay, now you're actually having fights with John where people are questioning who won the fight.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. There's just a difference.
But I will say this:
Khabib has been incredibly dominant.
Yeah.
In every matchup that he's been in, for the most part. There's been a couple fights. You can go back and Gleason Tebow gave him problems.
Yeah.
For a little bit. Gleason got tired of stopping the takedowns, and eventually it changed. But you look at from the time that he fought, Michael Johnson, then Edson Barboza, Ali Aquinta, Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier. All those are your last bit there, top flight, and he's everybody that he's going against going to be top flight. Now Justin's got the same thing, man. He's fought top flight guys.
Yes,
since he came in, man, it's been very impressive. So.
Look, I've like I said, I had talked to people that have trained with Just. I've heard that he's also been fishing around because Kamaru Usman is not there all the time. So he's needed to fish around to find guys with some sort of wrestling pedigrees. Not a lot of people around right now because of COVID. So he hasn't been able to get a whole group of guys that are just strictly wrestlers in his camp. He does not train jiu-jitsu. So when the fight does hit the ground, he will turn his back to get back up because that's what he's done. And hard habits are hard to break. I mean, long-term habits, I should say. Habits like that are hard to break. He will give his back. And we have seen with the Conor fight, he will choke the shit out of you. We've seen with the Dustin Poirier fight, he will choke the shit out of you. He will continue to do that with all of these guys.
Even the Conor, that wasn't a choke.
Yeah.
Okay? He was not choking Conor. He was crushing his jaw.
Yeah.
And that's, if you've ever, and we have actually had fighters have their jaw dislocated.
Yeah.
Okay? Pops out of the socket going back because of the pressure that someone can create. So he's got the chokes, absolutely. And he's also got the face cranks. He's got the jaw crushes that he does. He's a strong individual at 155 pounds, super strong. So, but he also has some of the best commentary during the fights.
Yes. Did you see the video? I never caught the one where, who was he going against? But Matt Serra was in the corner.
Oh, that was when he was fighting Ali Quinta.
Oh my God. Matt Serra was telling him, fight the hands, fight the hand. He did. He's he shook his head at Matt Serra. He's like, yeah. And Matt Serra goes, I know you know what I'm talking about. And he's like, yeah. It was great. And Matt Serra is honestly, fuck, if you ever get a chance to run into Matt Serra and you get a chance to talk to him, you gotta talk to him. He's not just funny. He's just, when I tell people that guys are like, this is the nicest guy in the world, he is right up there at the top. There's Frankie
Matt is
Edgar,
not the nicest guy in the world. He's the
so
most honest guy because he'll tell you exactly what he thinks of you.
It doesn't matter, but he's a good guy.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Absolutely great, man.
Great guy.
Absolutely great. I love being around Matt. He's just fucking, I was supposed to fight him a couple of times. He's just, And I'm so glad I didn't fight him because he was really fucking good. I was like, thank God.
Dude. His ground
He
game
was good.
freaking good.
And just a little ball of muscle too, also.
Yep.
But absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I was watching that clip of them and he's talking back to Khabib. Khabib's talking to him like, yeah, I get it. I understand. I know what you're saying.
I'll never forget when he was fighting Michael Johnson. That was in Madison Square Garden, I think. And he's fighting Michael Johnson. He's saying, you need to quit. You need to, you know, I need to fight for the championship.
Yeah.
And he's just pounding him. He says, you need to stop. I don't want to hit you anymore.
Yeah.
Go ahead and stop.
This is my destiny.
Okay, I'll hit you more. My destiny is to be champion.
Yeah.
You know this is fair. You know this is right.
Yeah.
Just is like
just crazy.
Oh god damn, man, that's just horrible.
And then he did the same thing to Connor when he was fighting Connor. Oh, let's talk now. Talk now. You want to talk? Let's talk now. What you got to say?
Which says a lot when you think about it. Because when you're talking, what is it telling you?
You're not. I mean, well, for me, it tells me you're not really focused. Like you're really just you're skating by. You feel comfortable enough to where you have enough control.
So
of somebody.
comfortable.
Yeah.
So comfortable in the fight.
Look,
that's really what it is.
Well, I've had these conversations with him multiple times. What people don't get is this. He's had 250, up to 250 Sambo fights before he even turned pro as an MMA guy. 250. And it's not like, I want to remind people, the ACA and the ACB champions, these guys are fucking good.
No, they're not. They're fucking killers.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad you made that clear.
They're fucking killers, dude.
They
are awesome.
So Bellator just signed basically 3 or 4 of their champions.
Magomedov.
Magomedov. We signed him. We also signed one of their champions at 205. So
Magomedov has only got one loss. That is to Peter Yan.
But he's also got a win over Peter Yan.
I did that fight, but he also had a previous win over Peter Yan.
Yep.
And he is a stud.
And there's a couple other guys that they had signed. I think there's 5 or 6 of them that they had signed. Yep. That they've signed. So look, I don't want to get into Bellator. I want to get strictly into this conversation. These guys are good. So when Khabib says, hey, I fought 250 times, in Sambo before I turned pro in MMA, this shit's like warm up. This think about the guys that have fought in Thailand. They've got like 200 or 300 fights, right? And they're like 17. They're like 17.
No, if they've got the 300 fights, there may be 27.
Maybe.
But yeah, you're right.
But at 27, they're also washed up.
Yeah, that can be.
They're done. Yeah. They're like, okay, look, I'm the old guy now. They bring in bring the Americans in. Let me whop them up, and that's kind of what it is. Let me just tool them around. That's really what it comes down. Like when you guys watch Thailand videos, and like the coach is in the corner, and some white guy walks in and says, "Yeah, I want to fight that guy," and the Thai guy goes, "Okay." He takes a puff of his cigarette and throws it on the ground and just fucking demolishes the guy from another academy. That's great, man. I love it. And that's kind of what you're seeing right now with the legacy of Khabib. Like, hey, I've got 250 Sambo fights. I'm 28-0. I fought all the best guys that you could possibly put in front of me. And he's like, all he wants is the GSP fight after this fight. If Justin Gaethje was a consistent wrestler and Justin Gaethje had a couple little threats on the ground, I would give him more of a chance. I would say I would probably give it 60-40. I give this fight maybe an 80-20 chance. And watch. Yeah. Let's just say some fucking stupid fluke thing happens and he gets clipped. And
that can happen.
It can happen. It can. You want to know why? Because that fool has some fucking dogs in his hands. He's got dogs. That guy can throw. And the other thing is I want to get back to this. I talked about it on the Shop Show too. People underestimate his leg kicks, his calf kick, his leg kicks. I think that's going to be the key. That's
the key to the fight. And the real question is this. Justin has to go out and do what he does.
Yeah.
And if he changes that from the beginning, he's in trouble. So now he's got to go out and he's got to throw those low leg kicks, and he throws them hard and he throws them fast. But if he gets taken down when he first throws them, he's going to stop throwing them right away. And it's going to be a huge mistake. If he gets back to his feet, he's got to continue to go after those leg kicks. That leg kick will make a difference on the entry. It will slow Khabib down. It will make Khabib think about where his leg's at. It's a huge factor in the fight.
Yeah, it really comes down to also, too, if Khabib can take him down off of the kick timing. So it's whether he can get him down off of that as well, because he cannot afford to take too much damage in the leg kick area. That slows the takedowns down, the pressure against the fence. You're not able to push against the fence and push against the canvas while you're trying to make pressure against the fence. There's a lot of things that can happen when leg kicks start happening to wrestlers, you know, and Justin's got the power to do it.
Yep.
There's so many things there's so many different ways Justin can exploit Khabib. But look, I think anyone that says, oh, he can do it, you guys got to take a good look in the mirror and be like, hey, when was the last time I saw someone win a round? Okay, Conor. Was it a round off or was it really a win round? That's what you have to think to yourself. Did he really win the round or did Khabib just take the round off? John has no answer, right? You have no answer.
Oh, I got an answer.
What's the answer, John? Tell me.
He got tired, trying to end him in the second round. And he said, I need to take some time back. I need to relax, get my air back. That's what he did. It was a close round. It wasn't like Conor, smoked him in the round, but he definitely took the round off. And I thought Conor won the round. But that's it. That's called smart fighting. Robbie Lawler is the king of taking a round off.
Yes.
He will go out there. He'll throw hard shots. He'll go, I'm tired. I'm going to take the next round off. And he does. And he won't even throw a punch sometimes. You go, okay, I know what you're doing, but that's you got to have that confidence in your ability to go out there and fight around, knowing I'm gonna cruise. It takes confidence to be able to have that ability to go out and cruise against a good fighter.
Well, okay, so look, we've talked a lot about Khabib. Let's talk about Justin. I also listened to some of the interviews they did yesterday, I think it was, while they did the presser and they talked. Justin's fucking way bigger than I recall. He stood face to face with Khabib, and he was like a good, probably maybe 2 inches taller than him. And I was like, wow. I mean, maybe it's the shoes.
But you don't know about shoes. They're close. They're close.
They're close. They're close to the same size, but I would give Justin being the taller guy, Khabib being the thicker guy. That's kind of where we're at. But what
Khabib's back is thick.
Yes. His fucking ass and trunks, like his quads and I'd say like kind of where the shorts stop and up, he's thick, man. Like his calves and all that. He's got those thick bones, and I've spent hours training with that guy.
Thick bones.
Yes. He's a thick bone guy. Like I if I wrap my hand, I have small hands, please don't ever repeat that. But I have if I try to wrap my hand around this dude's wrist, like it gets maybe 3/4 of the way, maybe. He's got that thick bone density a little bit, So, but with Justin Gaethje, he's a little bit taller than I thought.
He's about an inch taller than Khabib?
I think when I saw him face to face today, they looked 2, but it could be the shoes also. He's got the power. I think he's got the potential of stopping the first, maybe even the second takedown. How many can he stop though? That's the question. 2 is, can he hide his leg kicks behind his punches without getting taken down? There's a lot of little things that I can steer off in this different direction. But one thing that I will say this, man, this kid's a good kid.
Yeah.
I listened to his interview about how he's excited. Like if, as soon as that bell rings, his mom can retire.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
That to me right there, I was like, man, like you just
good on you.
Yeah. As a parent, you did something right. I mean, you feel blessed that like your kid is doing this all because of like to help you, because he knows how much you've helped them. Man, that's hard to get out of your child. That's hard to get out of anybody in life. And I'm just, when I was listening to that, I was thinking to myself, this is absolutely amazing. You're a fucking phenomenal person. And as much as I want success for you, I don't want to see you I don't want to see you win this weekend, but I want success for you, like overall in life, just period, just in general. Absolutely. Man. I just, man, and I think people have looked at what I've said about him and have thought that like I'm being a jerk about him. Look, I want to see him fight for a long time. And I said in the beginning when he came into the UFC, when he fought Michael Johnson, I'm like, you cannot fight this way. You can't fight this way forever. And he showed against Dustin Poirier. He got away with the Michael Johnson fight. He got lucky and got lucky. But he didn't get lucky.
Hurt twice.
Yes, bad. But he broke Michael Johnson's will.
Oh, yes.
But when he fought guys like Eddie and he fought guys like Dustin, the willpower isn't you're not breaking those guys' willpower.
But this is where you got to give both Justin and his coach, Trevor Whitman, got to give him credit, because he came in and he beats Michael Johnson, then he loses to Eddie Alvarez, then he loses to Dustin Poirier. And he was doing the exact thing that had made him successful throughout his run in the World Series of Fighting.
Yeah.
He was going forward, throwing big shots, being the berserker, and now it wasn't working. He was taking too much damage, during the rounds, and it was adding up to the point where he was, being diminished to the point someone could get rid of him. Then he comes out and he fights James Vick, and that fight against Vick, had a big knockout, but you could see little elements of him resetting, where he never reset before. And then when he fought Edson Barboza after the Vick win, he fights Edson Barboza, and you can see a complete difference in just the mindset of, I'm not going to be the crazy guy going forward. I'm going to give pressure. I'm going to be that guy that comes forward, but I'm not going to take crazy chances. And that was, there's no doubt in my mind, Trevor Whitman looked and said, hey, we got to be smarter about this. We've got to disengage at times too. We got to take a breath. I want you to step back. Don't leave yourself in here. And one of the big things he does, you'll watch Justin when he throws that right kick, he dips to his left with his head a lot. He also does it when he throws that big looping overhand right. And he stopped doing it a little bit. He kind of stopped doing it when he beat Donald Cerrone. And because I know that Donald had watched it and seen it and said, okay, it's going to be there. And all of a sudden it wasn't there. And so, in his last fight after that one was Tony Ferguson. And man, you go back and look at what he did in that fight and his just patience, the patience he had in that fight, because he knew Tony was going to come forward. He knows he likes to come forward. I don't have to worry about chasing this guy. He's going to come towards me.
Yeah.
Let me just catch that right distance. And when I explode, I'm going to come into him hard and I'm going to exit out and then reset and come back and let this happen all again. And that's what happened time after time after time. And, Tony took so many big shots in that fight, so many. And if you really look, Justin didn't get damaged hardly at all in that fight, which is super impressive.
What he did was he let Tony,
that was a big change.
He let Tony come to him, and he slipped a couple and threw big shots, and Tony was there to be hit. My dumb ass went at Tony. He just fucking filleted me open with elbows, fucking like a Ginsu knife. It was pretty. Anyways, yeah, I agree. I feel like he got really smart after the Poirier and the Eddie Alvarez fight. Yep. He started catching on, started realizing what he had to do. He realized there's levels to this game. The guys that I was fighting in the World Series of Fighting, this is a different level. And he had to make some adjustments. The Michael Johnson fight, he got by, and he realized after that, like, okay, what do I got to do? Then who did he fight after that? He fought Eddie.
After Michael, he fought Eddie.
After that. He lost. Great fight though, one of the best I think I've ever seen. Then I watched him fight Dustin Poirier. Same thing, great fight as well. Probably another one of the best I've ever seen. The Eddie fight was a little bit better, I think, because it was like Eddie
more back and forth.
Yeah, Eddie was swollen up, and it just had that dramatic feel to it. But I mean, I had criticized him during those two times of his loss. I'm like, dude, you can't do this. You can't do this at this level. You cannot do this for very long. And as much as I'm a fan, I want to see you fight more and longer. And it just, I was like, man, you're knocking on the devil's door. Like, you keep doing this, your career is going to be a fucking drop in the bucket. No one's going to remember who you are. People remember him now. There's no doubt. Like, he's fun. He's fun. Not only is he fun, but he's evolved and gotten so much smarter. So much fun. The James Vick fight, yep, definitely one of those ones as well. First round KO, nice setups, nice strikes, just touch, boom, boom. He didn't lunge in on big shots. He just touch. The opening was there, bam, done. It was over. Then he fought Edson Barboza. Like, he just systematically just walked him down, made Edson fight walking backwards. And I've said
he was smart. He took the kicks away from Edson.
Yep.
Right away.
No different than if you guys go back and you watch the Fedor versus Mirko Cro Cop in Pride. Exactly what he did. Stayed inside the kicking range so he couldn't get the kicks out there and just laid leather on him. And that's exactly what he did. Laid the leather on him, and that's exactly what happened for that fight as well. He took away the kicks and was able to just land and touch his chin, and the fight was done. Then he got to Donald Cerrone. I mean, one of those fights where just Donald's not the guy that he used to be, but Justin fought. I can't take anything away from him. He fought a good fight, fought a smart fight. He just went out there, touch, didn't exert too much energy, didn't fight stupid, didn't, like you said, didn't lean to the side on the overhand right, didn't lean to the side on the kicks, didn't do all those things that Donald maybe would have studied and said, like, okay, look, he leans that, I'm going to throw the head kick. And that's what Donald's famous for, is throwing the head kicks, and figuring out your game. With Tony Ferguson, with Tony just came to him and it made it a little bit easier for him. But stylistic, I think he looks back at that fight. He's like, look, I can still do this. I can find ways to win. He's got to make some changes, I think, to his game now that Justin's figured him out a little bit. But I think but Justin though, or not Justin, but Tony's game is a game that can beat all the other guys in that division. Give me another guy that he can't beat. I think Dan Hooker might be a hard fight for him, but everyone else, I think he beats all the other guys. I think he beats Michael Chandler.
The guy that gives Tony Chandler actually matches up really well with Tony.
I think Tony beats him. I wouldn't say easily, but Tony beats him because his conditioning, because of his darce, because of his guillotine. Those are things that Chandler sometimes leaves himself out of position. Plus, Chandler is a lot smaller.
How many times have you seen Chandler submitted?
No, I've never seen him submitted, but I've also never seen him close to being submitted either.
Oh, I have.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah, but there's those.
The knee bar against Marcin Held, right?
That was a tough one. Ooh, okay. That was nasty. But you talk about Leon Edwards.
Yes.
But that's one. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong way. I just screwed that up.
Different.
Leon Edwards his style. That's a tough style for Tony. But that's a 170 and 155, so it doesn't matter. I'm an idiot.
Oh yeah.
That kind of style.
Michael Chandler to me, I think, is a tough fight for him in the first round. But so was Edson Barboza, and look what happened to Edson. I put Tony at that area where the fight can go everywhere. But the one thing is, he never made the adjustments in the fight with Justin, and that cost him the fight. Had he tried to wrestle a bit more, had he tried to get close and press him to the fence and elbow him and dirty box him and all those things, I think he would have had more success. But he didn't do that. So he stayed at the fighting range, and that's where Justin Gaethje wants you. And so I think that didn't work out for him. He didn't make the adjustments between rounds. But if I look at I'm looking right now. I'm looking at the rankings.
Glad you are.
Yeah, sorry, man. We're having some issues. I'm sorry. You look at the rankings. We've got Justin Gaethje, who's fighting for the title here soon. He's the interim champ. Dustin Poirier. Tony matches up well with him. Dustin Poirier. Tony and Conor McGregor. I would love to see that fight, just to be honest. I would love to see that fight. I think Conor maybe beats him, but Dan Hooker is a tough fight, I think, for Tony also. But if the fight gets to the ground, I think Tony is able to.
I was going to say, why do you think Dan Hooker is a tough fight for Tony when ground-wise, Hooker's okay on the ground. He's not bad at all. He's got a decent ground game, but his stand-up is really sharp, but not super powerful.
Compared to who?
What do you mean compared to?
Are you comparing him to somebody else? Or are you just saying, like, why do I think he's a hard fight for him?
I'm saying why. That's the kind of fight where you saw, like in Edson Barboza, you saw what Tony did. Edson Barboza, Dan Hooker. It's comparable.
Yeah, you want to know why I think it's close? Because if you look at John Jones and Gustafsson, when guys are the length they're not used to, Tony's used to being the longer guy. He'll be the longer guy, maybe or maybe not. They both have equal range. So when Tony's used to hitting guys and getting out, that ain't gonna happen.
Get out without getting touched.
Also, too, I would, and Dan, I think Hooker's faster. He's gonna touch and move, touch and move. I'll give the advantage to Tony because of the grappling and a little bit of the wrestling, but he's got a hard time getting him down. I'm gonna give the advantage to Tony,
but if it hits the ground,
yes, I agree with you. I'm not pitching that argument, but Tony's not also doesn't tend to go for takedowns.
Not anymore.
Doesn't make the adjustment wasn't made against
Not anymore.
Justin. But I think he has the advantage there. There's no doubt about it. But I think Dan Hooker posed a threat because I look at the John Jones and the Gus fight when he finally had to fight someone who was equal length. It posed a problem. So I can go down that list and all those guys there. But I mean, the bottom line is that I think with Justin and Khabib, Justin offers the threat, but is he the toughest fight? Absolutely not. No. I think Tony would have been the toughest fight for him, only based off the elbows from the cuts from the ground. Khabib normally has a shaved head when he fights. Cuts happen in the hair clogs it up a little bit and kind of slows the bleeding down a little bit. No hair. We saw what happened. What was it? Yves Edwards and Joe Daddy Stevenson. It was like,
oh, it's a good one.
That was gross.
Dude, that one, I'll give you a little story on that one. I don't know if I've ever told you that one.
This is story time. I love story time.
Story time. I refereed that fight. And in that, what you're talking about is Joe Daddy did a really beautiful move because he takes Yves down and Yves is on his back and Joe grabs the ankle like he's going to go for a leg lock and sit back. And Yves takes his hand to grab up. Joe lets go and brings an elbow and it cuts Yves right on the side of the head.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it's about an inch long, but it hits an arterial vein and it just starts.
Oh, yeah.
Every heartbeat, it's spraying out and it's pouring out. And it gets to a certain point where he's on his back and he's moving around and his head's on the ground and it actually is starting to run out and pool, like a crime scene. It's just pouring out. Yeah. So I finally go, stop time. I take him over to the doctor and the doctor is David Watson, who works in the Nevada State Athletic Commission. And we had a fight before that, he had talked about arterial cuts and, hey, don't worry about the blood. They're not going to bleed to death in here. It's really about the location. If it's spraying out, it really doesn't matter. So I'm like, man, let me get him up so we can at least get him so his face is cleaned off so he can see because the blood he looks like the movie Carrie. It's all over his face. So I take him there. Right. Dave goes, you know what? The cut's not that bad, John. I said, I didn't think it was. I'm just making sure you're okay with it. And we put him back into the fighting. And probably about 40 seconds left in the round. He makes it through it. And by the time he's all covered with blood and he goes back to his corner and I'm thinking, all right, man, we're going to be fine. And David Watson comes, up to the cage and he's, signaling me and I walk over and I say, yeah, what you need? And he goes, you got to stop the fight. Oh. I go, why? And he goes, John, you got to stop the fight. He's lost too much blood. I go, what do you mean he's lost too much blood, Dave? I said, you told me he can't bleed to death in here, right? And he goes, I would say that he's lost between 500 and 750 cc's of blood. He goes, if he was in the hospital, he'd be getting a transfusion. He goes, he's lost too much blood. I can't let him go anymore. So I go over and I tell Yves, hey, the doctor's going to stop the fight on you. And he's, no, I'm fine. I can fight. I said, I know you can fight, brother. I said, they're not going to let you. And man, I felt so bad for him. So bad because the cut was on the side of his head. He goes, John, the blood didn't bother me. I'm fine. I said, I know, man. I know. Trust me.
But when they got done with that fight, though, it was like a puddle.
Oh, it was bad.
And there were spots of puddles. It wasn't just one.
It was the most. It was like the most blood ever in a fight.
Yeah.
And there's the ones that people will talk about and go, no. not as much as this one.
There was one, the only one that I've seen, like, I wouldn't say close in terms of blood, but they had kind of the same look. When I watched that fight, I got a little cringy, like, and I'm not afraid of blood at all, but I'm like, it was gross to see in Yves, like it was like spurting out onto the canvas. Yeah. But then Adam Piccolotti had a fight as well against somebody where he had the rear naked and he cut him in the forehead and he squeezed for the rear naked and then fucking blood just went right at the camera.
Yeah, just
right at the camera. I was like, oh shit. Fuck. But yeah, that was gross. That was nasty. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about what after. Khabib does what? What does Justin do after? If Justin wins, who does he fight next? If Justin loses, where does he go? If Khabib wins, where does he go? And if Khabib loses, what does he do?
Wow. I mean, it's, I think that the real simple, let's go simple first because the champion is Khabib.
Yeah.
Justin is the interim. And I love the fact that he says, no, he's the champion. And he's right.
Yes.
And if the champ wins.
Respectful.
Khabib,
I love it. I love how respectful he is.
If Khabib wins, I don't think that there's anybody left for him in the lightweights. You could sit there and, I guess pick out somebody, for him to fight, but who?
Tony. He would be the only guy. Tony would be the only guy.
Yeah, but I mean, Tony's not in that position where you go and he's coming off of a loss.
Yeah,
you're gonna put him right in a fight with the champion. I said that you can't do that.
Yeah,
he's gonna have to at least come back, at least get one win. He gets one win, and you want to put him back in there, okay? But he's gone through the who's who in the UFC as far as lightweights. There's nobody else there, so you have one of two choices. You've got that super fight. If George St. Pierre wants to step back and come in the cage again and try to beat Khabib at, we'll say, at 165, great. The only other thing that I would say is, hey, give him that last shot at the welterweight title.
Yeah.
Put him in a super fight with, if it's Kamaru, put him in a fight with Kamaru Usman. Give him that shot at the welterweight. That's a fight I'd love to see.
I don't think Usman wants that business. I'm sorry,
we'll
man.
See. But that would be my idea for Khabib. You got the two. You've got the super fight with St. Pierre, or you've got him, going after the welterweight belt to see if he can become a double champion. But I don't think they're going to want that, because he's talking about that being, his last fight. He would be in a position to get to 30-0 at that time. And if he did, he's going to walk away and he's got two of their belts. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, but Dana's come out and said publicly that he's willing to go ahead and try and make that dream come true that his father wanted. So I think letting him fight for the title, I don't think he'd be against that. He may have to defend it one time. I know that the goal was for him to get to 30-0. That was the whole goal for his father. The conversation has already been talked about. Khabib's talked about it. That my father's always wanted me to get to 30-0. He obviously has always wanted him to have the GSP fight. I think Dana will try to make that fight happen with no title at 165, just because I think Khabib or GSP can make that weight without killing himself, and we could see a real fight between the two of them at that weight. And GSP,
but is it a real fight now?
What do you mean?
Come on, George is going to be 39? If that fight happens?
By the time they fight, he'll probably be 40.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait. How old was he when he beat Michael Bisping? Was that on a real fight?
That was in 2017.
2017?
Yeah.
So he was 37?
Yep. 3 years is a long time, man.
No, I agree. I agree.
You got to look, what made George St. Pierre what he was? Well, speed was one of those factors.
Okay. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. He is not the let me just say, he's not the token fighter. I'm sorry. As soon as I retired, I was like, okay, where are we going to drink? Let's go do this. That is not GSP. GSP's not at McDonald's fucking eating Big Macs.
No,
that guy's in the pool every single day doing his workouts, showing them online, showing how ripped he is at 39 years old. Okay, there's a big difference between what other fighters will do when they get out of camp. That guy never took a fucking day off, and I think in his whole life. Look at him, 39 years old. He's shredded, just a true athlete, and he's still shredded.
There's a difference between being in fight condition and having a beach bod.
But the jiu-jitsu aspect that he brings is what scares me. You talk to Danaher, you talk to any of the guys that train at Henzo's, those guys, they'll all tell you he's fucking physically super strong. Yep. And he's also like, they don't even know how to compare. They're like, he's black belt level, but also like black belt competition level.
He's a black belt.
No. I'm saying like black belt level is one thing. Like, look, we can get black belt from fucking online. Okay, he's a black belt level, legit black belt level, but he's also competition level black belt. You know, like if I say, okay, look, I'm a black belt, okay, but then I compare myself to like a Leo Vieira or a Marcus Buchecha or
world class.
Yeah, world class. Like a Rafa Mendez. Like, get the fuck out of here. There's levels to that game. That's not the black belt level we're talking. I'm talking about like people have talked about GSP being at that level, you know, training with guys that are at that level and being able to tap them consistently and just beat them. And that's what I'm talking about. And then you put that in with his striking and mix in with his wrestling and mix in with all of his jiu-jitsu. He has never stopped training a day in his life. He's still at John Danaher's. He's still at Henzo's. He's still training with Faraz. He's still doing his pool workouts. He's still doing all of that. I think he poses. I think outside all that, Tony Ferguson, but I think he poses in Conor McGregor. Those are the two guys I think pose the most threats, but in different levels. But I think GSP poses the top highest level because of his jiu-jitsu game, because of his wrestling pedigree, and also because of his unique stand-up. There's going to be stand-up that little flying Superman jab he does. Khabib ain't seen that shit. I'm going to try to mimic that in sparring one day when, to help him out, but it ain't going to be at the level that GSP does it. His grappling is going to be at a different level than all the guys he's ever fought. You're talking about this fight would be for the GOAT. You'd have to make UFC would have to put a fucking belt together.
Instead of a
GOAT.
BMF belt, it's going to be a GOAT belt.
That's the belt to have, and that would be the belt. That would be the belt to make for those two guys. As much. And I love watching John Jones fight, but you can't put him in the conversation. Anderson Silva, I can't put him in the conversation. It would be those two. That's it. No one else. Right now, no one else.
Okay,
None.
so then Justin Gaethje wins. I think there's a ton.
Lots. There's still left though. There's still left. Who do you got? What fight puts you there like, oh shit, I gotta see that fight?
I'd love to see him and Conor. I think it'd be fucking phenomenal. It would be fun, but I'd take him in a rematch with Dustin Poirier. I'd like to see that. I would like to see him against Michael Chandler. That would be fun. He's got a ton of fights that he could, have in the lightweights with some of the guys there. There's a ton of possibilities for him.
For Justin Gaethje, I want to see the Conor fight.
Yep.
The one that is, for me, I want him to have his red panty night. That's it. I want him to have red panty night. I want him to be like, hey, guess what? My parents never have to work again. After hearing his story and after hearing all the things, that's what I want.
Stratosphere.
I want him to have that. That's what I want him to have. I want him to have that. And then whoever's reminiscent around there. I mean, after that, I think to me, Conor, the fight to make would be if he beats Khabib, the fight to make would be Conor. You want to know why?
If Conor gets past Dustin.
Yeah. If Conor gets past it. Yeah, no, I'm saying
Matched up in January.
If Dustin, the contract's not signed.
I think they're matching up in January.
I don't know. I'm hearing that they want to pay Dustin nothing. They want to pay him his normal contract. No pay-per-view, nothing.
Yeah.
Because there's no fans.
Where's the love for Dustin?
No fans.
Yeah.
That's why they don't want Conor to fight.
I know
You've
that.
said that a bunch of times. You've said, and for those of you fans at home, I want you guys to understand you're talking to the Oracle over here, okay? It's Big John McCarthy. You guys need to get it. It's the reality is money.
It is about money, man. This is a good year for the UFC. They're doing very well right now, based upon still getting a lot of pay-per-view buys. They're going to get a ton on this Gaethje versus Khabib fight, so it's going to be a good month for the UFC accountants. But when you take Conor's costing them a lot of money, and so all of that, you figure that an arena on a Conor McGregor fight, you're looking at a gate somewhere in the area between let's say $12 to $18 million. That's a lot of money you're giving up having the fight either at the Apex Center in Vegas or having it at Fight Island. You're giving that money up. That's just throwing out. So it's tough.
You don't have a choice.
What? I can't hear you. Speak into the mic.
You don't have a choice, though?
Speak into the mic, buddy.
A choice of what?
Of having a gate right now?
Right now?
Well, they do.
Dana came out and said basically that he doesn't want to do half gates because there's areas he could do Texas and go to Texas Stadium because that was Conor's suggestion, and
Florida,
put half the seats. Same thing in Florida, but he's not. He says he's not going to go until he can pack the house.
But if you do Texas Stadium, I mean that's more than what 30.
Oh yeah,
40,000.
you could. Well, you go to Texas Stadium. Let's say you put 35,000 in.
That's more than you would do at T-Mobile.
Hello.
I don't understand why.
The way I look at it.
Yeah, I look at it too that way, but also the viewing for it is not the same.
No,
it's so far away from.
But those screens, dude, they're huge.
That's very true.
I've been there, and
that is very
tell you
true.
what, it's you can see.
Yeah,
I don't care where you're at, you can see those screens are huge.
I just want to see that fight. I want to see Justin and Conor. And then I think it leads, if Conor does beat Justin, then it leads to like kind of like a little bit of a round robin. But I think Khabib maybe be out and done by then. He doesn't want anything to do with Conor. He's just like, I'm good, man. I've already beat him. It wasn't close. The fight wasn't close. None of the fights have been close with him. He wants new blood. He wants new talent. I understand. And I said this forever. I've said this for the longest time. When you get guys that are at the top, right? And they've been there for a while, they need something to motivate them. They need fighters to motivate them. The opponent needs to motivate them. I think with Khabib, it didn't really matter. Not much motivated him. It was his father that motivated him. Now it's like, I've already beat you. There's no reason to go backwards. I've already beat Dustin. I've already beat, Conor. I mean, he's already beat Ali Quinta. And like none of the guys also, he could sit there and fight, Paul Felder and Charles Oliveira and Dan Hooker. But the story would be the same. It'd be no different. It'd be no different at all. Felder, I like Felder a lot as far as a commentator. I like him as a fighter,
Great fighter.
as well. Great fighter.
Great fighter.
But let's be real. The takedown defense with him and Charles Oliveira, I think, poses a threat only because he is slick on the ground. And he does have good transitions, like, as far as in terms of when he's being taken down. But I just think physical strength, he just doesn't have it. I mean, sure, you can hit the technique and potentially it could be there, but it's no different than me saying, like, yeah, Justin Gaethje has a good chance of knocking him out. It's the same. I give the odds about that much.
Talking about odds.
Oh, shit.
Weigh in on the odds.
Oh, shit. You want to go there? Let's go. So, you guys, we have a new segment called Weighing In on the Odds, which is brought to you by mybookie.ag. And you guys can go there. We are going to talk about the odds. Yo, what you got there, buddy? Podcast Dave. Can you pull up the odds for us?
What are the odds now? Because I knew what they were.
They were minus 370, I believe, for Khabib.
It's gone even farther because it was started at 315, went 335. Is it 370 now?
Yeah, it can't be
A
good.
lot of money is going on Khabib.
I saw earlier at 375, so maybe it dropped to 370. I think the Cannonier fight, right, is equal.
That's a good fight. That last I saw it was 115, 115.
115. Both negative 115, 115.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of that fight?
I think Whitaker walks away with it.
I think Whitaker just is the more overall MMA style fighter. I loved Cannonier. I did his first fight at heavyweight when he came to the UFC. And he is just a super nice guy. But my real problem in this fight for him, he is a boxer and he goes into the ring to hit you with his hands and boxing level. And he's got some kicks now and stuff, but I look at Whitaker and Whitaker's the overall fighter and stuff. He just does everything. And I think that overall game might be the difference in this one, but it's a good fight. It should be really fun to watch.
Am I on the right thing here?
Yeah, right there. Justin Gaethje. Khabib.
Okay. Just making sure.
Well, if you look at the dates is 10/24. So you have Umar. Umar got pushed to 10/24 because he got a staph infection. Nurmagomedov, he got a staph infection last week, so they pushed him to Vegas. So he'll be in Vegas. So did Islam. Islam's going to be fighting in Vegas too. So they're already both in Vegas, the two of them. So Justin Gaethje. So here we're bringing you guys a new segment, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. It's called Weighing In on the Odds. Nice little soundbite there, buddy. Okay, go to MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag or mybookie.com works as well. Check out the odds. But Justin Gaethje versus Khabib Nurmagomedov is minus 345 is Khabib.
Okay, so that's close. It was 335, I think, last time I saw.
Okay.
What is Justin is plus what?
270.
That's, if you're looking, I always go with saying if I'm gonna bet in that situation, I probably bet the dog because the dog has a chance in the fight. Justin Gaethje can land a shot, can hurt Khabib, can put him out. Do I think that, the odds are about right? Yeah, I do. I would say the odds are somewhere in the area where you're going to have to put down, $350 to win 100 on Khabib. That's telling you that he is a, commanding favorite in the fight.
Do you agree with those odds?
Yeah. I would actually think they're going to end up somewhere around minus 400.
Yeah.
4-1.
Yeah, I don't bet. I don't bet on my friends, so I'm not betting on that fight. I don't bet on my friends. I don't bet against my friends, obviously, but I don't bet on my friends either. Go up to Whitaker. Whitaker is minus 115, and so is Jared
Cannonier's
Cannonier.
115.
He's minus 115 as
It's an
well.
even fight. That's perfect. Now you can just go with the guy that you actually think is going to win the fight.
Yeah, even fight.
I would go Whitaker.
I would go Whitaker as well. Yep. I think Whitaker's will be able to stop the takedown and be able to slow the pace down. I think the only person to be able to do what something to him is Izzy to Whitaker. The only guy that's going to give Whitaker a hard time is Izzy. Sorry, guys.
That's it. Huh? You're yawning over that fight now.
Yeah, man. I got up hella early this morning. Got a couple workouts in. I'm trying to work this fat beer belly off. I'm getting old. Walt Harris versus Volkov.
I paid for some of those beers, man.
Yes,
Come
you
on,
did.
man. Enjoy those.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Man, I like that though. It's I gotta get in there when I can. Who else? There's a couple other fights on this card I wanted to talk about. What do you think about Walt Harris versus Volkov? Alexander Volkov.
I think that's a good fight. What's the odds on it now?
Minus 180 for Volkov and plus 150 for Harris.
See, and I would take the plus 150 with Harris.
You would?
I would. Volkov is not the guy who is going to beat you on the ground. He's going to beat you in the stand-up. He's super tall, 6'7", but Walt is 6'5". So, he matches up well in the height, the reach. I would think that Walt actually has the longer reach than Volkov.
Mm-hmm.
And when Walt is fighting his fight, moving, sticking, he's tough to deal with.
Yeah.
And Volkov is pretty static and linear, and he doesn't give a lot of angle changes. He doesn't bring his head off center line much. And I think Walt has a very good chance of putting him away in this fight. And if he's the dog in this fight, that's the guy I would go with.
After everything Walt Harris has been through. I
Man.
read his interview the other day. Yeah, I say it was yesterday. I read his interview, and he's like, I realize that there's still hope for just people in general. He's like, it made me feel really good to realize that there's really good people still out there, and it made me feel good to read that. Like, honestly, right now, I think with everyone going through COVID, the fucking election is a total shit show. Like, everything going on, the media is a fucking joke. All this other shit, all this shit that's going
Gotta
on.
love it.
It's nice to hear and see someone believe in that humanity's still around. I gotta tell you, man, I wish him the very best. I hope he gets the win, and I think I agree with you. The athleticism, the potential with the wrestling, the power he has. We've seen Volkov. He's been knocked out before. He's been starched before, and I think Walt Harris can do it all. So that's one thing I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see that fight. Definitely. Well, that's our odds, right?
That's our odds.
That's our odds. So I mean, like,
We're telling you.
So you're betting on Gaethje.
Am I going to make that bet? No.
But you would, like, if you're a betting man, like if you're looking at the odds.
If I was a betting man,
yes,
I would do one of two things. I would either go Gaethje or I would go the under.
Interesting.
Because if you're looking for Gaethje to win the fight, he's going to win it by knocking Khabib out. And if you're looking at Khabib winning the fight, you're looking at saying, I think that he would get rid of him somewhere in the third or fourth round. And I believe that the under
is
actually 4.5.
Go scroll down to Khabib. There you go. So 4.5 for Gaethje is the under. Oh, it's the over. Sorry, the over is 4.5. The under is 4.5 for Khabib. Yeah, I would say the under is 4.5 for Khabib. That's pretty. Yeah, I would bet it. I agree with you. I would agree with you. Yeah, for sure. Justin, plus 155 for the over. Yeah, he would have to win earlier. Yeah, good fight, man. Good. I'm excited for the fight. I don't think it's gonna be as close as people think it's gonna be. Obviously, and I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan, but Joe is gonna say, like he does for every major fight, the greatest fight in UFC history. I love when Joe says it. I'm like, bro, I just saw this fight last week. You said the same shit. I love it, but it's like, come on, man. But hey, it's the hype train, brother. I mean, I think Justin deserves all the hype he gets. He beat somebody that had a 12, 13 fight win streak, 14 fight win streak in Tony Ferguson. And this is the fight, man. This is the fight that everyone is pumped up about. I'm fucking pumped up about it.
Is Joe's not going to be part of this fight, is he?
I think he is.
Is he? Is he going to
No, he's not.
He's not there.
I thought it was because John Anik posted a picture of him, DC, and Anik, and he's like, "Yeah, the crew back together again." I don't know if that means they're going to be there this weekend, but he posted old picture. He posted like pictures of them when they were like 19, 20, 25. But it was great. Joe had hair.
No, he wrote, "We miss you in Abu Dhabi, Joe Rogan."
Oh, I thought it was.
I didn't think he was gone.
All right, smart man.
Which is, Joe basically only does the pay-per-views now. As
this is pay
Domestic.
Domestic.
Thinking about it.
Doesn't even.
I was like,
domestic.
John, this is pay-per-view, buddy.
Well, I said normally he does.
Yes,
he does all the pay-per-views, and this one is one he's not going to do. So.
Yeah, I think he is. I saw something about him yesterday or 2 days ago. His producer Jamie got COVID. Poor guy, man. I'm sure he's gonna be fine. He said Joe was talking about how he feels fine, but we're gonna put the filming on hold for a little bit, maybe for a couple days. Jamie should be back. I mean, our protocol too for Bellator is like, we're a 10-day period and get our test back, and as long as we get 2 negatives back, I think it's 2 negatives, then we can get back to work, which is kind of nice. All right, well, hey guys, just so everyone remembers, this fight is really early. The prelims, I think, start at 9. The main card starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday.
Pacific.
Yeah, Pacific time. So you guys
12 o'clock, I think. Yeah, 12 o'clock East Coast and 2 o'clock main card East Coast.
Yeah, it's better for you guys over there. Jerks.
This time.
Jerks. What do you want? What do you want to talk about?
Just don't forget to mention that if people are betting on MyBookie this weekend, they might as well use MyBookie because they get double the deposit.
So if you guys are gonna bet at all on these fights, okay, you guys got to use MyBookie. Use the promo code weighing in. Thanks for reminding me of that, though. You forgot that, didn't you? Promo code weighing in. Also, they actually double your first investment up to $1,000. So if you put $100 in, they give you $200 to gamble with. So if you want to bet $100 on Khabib or you want to bet $100 on Justin, they'll give you $200 to bet on them, and you basically win double the money, which is nice. They'll go all the way up to $1,000. So if you put in $1,000, they'll give you $2,000. They'll give you another $1,000, which gives you $2,000 to bet on. Absolutely amazing. Hopefully you guys use that. Just remember, promo code weighing in. When you guys sign in, that will double your first deposit. Absolutely. Do it. I'm already in. I'm already balls deep in this shit. I don't bet on my friends, but I'm telling you right now, there's a couple lines that I'm looking at. I'm like, all right, let's go. Hello. Show me the money. John's like,
only one of us is up, baby.
Oh man, whatever. You bet. You took the easy fights.
Then why didn't you?
Because I don't do that. I bet on the odds. I take the odds. If I bet 100 and I have the potential of winning 3, I'm like, yo, I'm in.
You're all in.
I'm in, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to hit the horse races here pretty soon, too. I'm going to become a fanatic. It's going to be horrible. I'm a gambling junkie. All right, guys. Well, hey, hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. Look, our subscriptions have kind of slowed down a little bit. So can we get you guys to hit the thumbs up as well as share our content and our video to everyone? Hit us up on, and also copy and post the links on Twitter, Instagram, Facebooks, all those. Share our videos everywhere. We appreciate you guys. We're growing. We are getting bigger, and sponsors are recognizing us, and we appreciate that as well. So we can start finally paying Podcast Dave, which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice. I mean, so he can just shush over there in the corner. But we want to thank you guys so much. You're the reason why our podcast is growing, and we like that you guys like our content. Look, people have actually been taking our content and putting it on their channels. Stealing our
content, putting it on their website like they own it.
John,
who the hell are they?
John says stealing. I say promoting. But we have a difference of view in this whole situation.
John also says website instead of channel.
Yeah, that's very true. That shows how old he is.
Old.
I posted a picture earlier on Instagram of me holding a 2600 Atari. You might recognize that, John. I don't know if you ever played video games, but that was kind of in your era. I was a kid, but it was like you maybe were what? I don't know, 15 at the
50.
time? 50? You were probably 50. What are you now? You just had a birthday, what, last week, right? What are you,
I
70? You're 80 now. I think you just turned 80 this week.
Well, now I'm 80.
80.
I'm surprised since you always flop it since I'm 58 now.
Yeah, okay. So you're 85.
There you go.
Yes,
I figured,
yes.
you're giving me 5 years. Thank you very much. I
Yes,
appreciate
you guys need to understand. He's 85 now. So when you guys see John next time, say, "Hey, happy birthday! Your 85th
You look
birthday."
good for 85.
You actually kind of do. Hey,
You're
I'm
very
surprised you don't have like more wrinkles on your forehead for that age. But
Are you kidding me?
you
Look
got a
at this. I
full
look
head-
like a fucking Shar-Pei puppy. Man.
full head of hair, baby.
I got.
That ain't going anywhere.
I ain't going nowhere.
Podcast Dave can't say the same.
Thank God, because I got so many scars on my scalp, man. If I had to shave my head, look like a roadmap.
Podcast Dave.
You talking about?
It's over, bro.
What are you talking about?
If you're gonna lose the battle, just shave it.
What,
I
my
told
hair?
DC that I told DC that after
DC lost the battle.
his first
He not
fight-
only lost the battle, he fucking gave up friends and family members. He let the enemy flank him.
I told him, I said, bro, you've lost the battle. I said, like, it's not called hair loss, it's called facial gain. You're just all face now. Like, just shave it. Like, it's you and LeBron. You and LeBron are on the same page, DC.
When you
Just
go from
get rid
having a
of it.
4-head to a 5-head, you know there's a problem.
Very true. Very true. All right, guys. Hey, we're on all the audio platforms as well, so please hit us up on there. Hit the subscribe button there as well. We appreciate you guys. We're blessed, man. We're blessed that you guys listen to us every time, share our content. Other people from their YouTube channels are sharing our content, so why not you? So thank you guys so much, and hope you guys enjoy this show. This is our midweek show. Hit up MyBookie, weighing in. That will double your first deposit. And hey, enjoy, have fun, enjoy the fights. We will see you on Saturday. Right after the fight, we're going to break that shit down. I cannot wait. Hell yeah. Woo.
Hell yeah.
You ready?
See ya.
See ya.